My name is Rachel Thompson, I'm 44 years old, and I was staring at my mother across her kitchen table when she said the words I never thought I'd hear. You have to get rid of it, Rachel. Please, you can't tell anyone it's David's baby. David. Her husband. My stepfather of 12 years. The man who'd been coming into my guest room for the last 8 months while I stayed with them during my fertility rest. That's what my doctor had called it after miscarriage number 7. This story contains discussions of pregnancy loss, reproductive trauma, and sexual assault. Some names and details have been changed for privacy and safety. If you've ever felt like your body betrayed you, or like the people who should protect you failed you most, I need you to know you're not alone. Me go back. I'd wanted to be a mother since I was 23, the year I married my college sweetheart, Joel. We had the plan. Careers first, then babies by 30. Except at 29, I had my first miscarriage. Then another at 31. Then 3 more by 35. Joel and I went through every test, every specialist, every round of IVF we could scrape together the money for. Your eggs are viable, the doctors would say. We just don't know why your body won't hold on. By the time I turned 40, I'd lost 7 pregnancies. Joel had stopped touching me. Stopped talking about it. Stopped, I think, seeing me as anything other than a project that kept failing. He asked for a divorce 3 weeks after my 40th birthday. I can't watch you destroy yourself anymore, he said, packing his things. Maybe it's just not meant to be. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Austin and spent 2 years in this gray fog, working my administrative job, coming home to silence, wondering if my entire purpose had been a cruel joke. Then I lost my job. Budget cuts. 20 years of service gone. That's when my mom called. Honey, why don't you come stay with us for a while? She said, her voice syrupy with concern. You and David get along fine, and we've got that guest suite. You can save money, figure things out. I should have said no. But I was 42, broke, and so tired of being alone. I packed 2 suitcases and drove to their place in the suburbs of Dallas. David had always been fine, polite, little quiet. He'd married my mom when I was 32, after my dad died of a heart attack. Mom seemed happy. He had a good job in medical sales. He didn't drink much. Didn't yell. It's good to have you home, Rachel, he said the day I arrived, carrying my bags upstairs. The guest suite was on the 2nd floor, across the hall from their bedroom. It had its own bathroom and a small sitting area. Take all the time you need, Mom said, squeezing my hand. I got a part-time job at a clinic doing intake paperwork. It wasn't much, but it kept me busy. And my doctor, my reproductive endocrinologist I'd been seeing for years, suggested something she called a stress reduction protocol. Sometimes, Dr. Patel had said gently, when we stop trying so hard, the body relaxes. I've seen it happen. So I stopped tracking, stopped testing, stopped hoping, really. I lived with my mom and David. I worked, came home. I watched TV in my room. That's what I was doing the first night he came in. It was around 11. I heard the door creak open. I looked up from my laptop. David, you need something. He stepped inside, closed the door softly behind him. Just wanted to check on you, he said. His voice sounded different. Lower. You seem lonely up here. I remember my stomach tightening, some old instinct flaring. I'm fine, I said. Just tired. Your mom's asleep, he said, moving closer. She takes those pills, you know. Sleeps like the dead. Froze. David, I think you should go. But he didn't. What happened next? I won't describe it in detail. But I need you to understand. I said no. Said stop. I tried to push him away. He was stronger. And when it was over, he stood up, adjusted his clothes, and looked down at me. If you say anything, he whispered, I'll make sure your mother knows you came on to me. She'll never believe you. You're the one living here for free, Rachel. The one who can't keep a husband or a job or a baby. Then he left. I lay there shaking, my mind splintering. I thought about calling the police. But then what? Would they even believe me? A 42-year-old woman living in her stepfather's house? Would my mom believe me? I told myself it was a one-time thing. A horrible, unthinkable mistake. I'd save up, move out fast, never speak to him again. But 2 nights later he came back. And then again. And again. Each time the same threat. The same shame. The same paralysis. "You're so desperate for attention," he'd hiss. "This is the most action you've gotten in years, isn't it?" I started locking my door. He had a key. I stopped eating dinner with him. Mom noticed. "Honey, are you feeling okay?" she asked one morning. "You've been so distant." I almost told her. The words were right there. But David walked into the kitchen just then, kissed her cheek, and smiled at me over her shoulder. That smile said everything. I looked away. "Just adjusting," I mumbled. By month 6 of living there, I'd saved almost nothing. I was drinking too much, sleeping too little, and I'd stopped fighting when he came into my room. Just left my body, stared at the ceiling, waited for it to end. Then one morning in month 8, I woke up nauseous. I ignored it. Stress, I thought. But it kept happening. And my period, which had been regular even through all the losses, didn't come. No, I thought. Not possible. I bought a test at a drugstore 3 towns over. Positive. Took 4 more. All positive. I sat on the bathroom floor of that guest suite and sobbed so hard I thought I'd crack a rib. I was pregnant. After 9 losses, if you counted the 2 early chemicals I'd never told anyone about, I was finally, impossibly pregnant. And the father was my mother's husband. The man who'd been assaulting me for months. I didn't know what to do. I sat with it for 2 weeks, going to work, coming home, avoiding everyone. Then I went to Dr. Patel for a dating ultrasound. "Rachel," she said, her face glowing, "you're 10 weeks along. Strong heartbeat. Everything looks perfect." I started crying right there on the exam table. "Does this mean, could I actually?" "One day at a time," she said gently. "But yes, you're pregnant." I wanted to feel joy. I wanted to feel anything other than this sick, twisted knot in my chest. 'Cause I wanted this baby. I'd wanted a baby for 20 years. But this one came from violence. From a man I hated. From months of torture I couldn't escape. I thought about my options. I knew I had them. But every time I tried to imagine making that choice, I saw all the other times, the 9 times my body had made the choice for me. And I couldn't do it. I know that sounds impossible to some people. I know it's complicated. But for me, in that moment, I couldn't lose another one by my own hand. So I decided I'd move out. Disappear. Have the baby far away. Never tell anyone who the father was. I started looking for apartments I could barely afford, jobs in other cities, anything. But then I got sick. Really sick. Hyperemesis. I was throwing up 10-15 times a day, losing weight, getting dehydrated. Dr. Patel wanted to admit me, but I refused. I couldn't let my mom find out. Not yet. Except one morning I passed out in the hallway at the clinic. They called my emergency contact. My mother. She met me at the hospital, frantic. "Rachel, my God, what's going on? Are you okay?" The ER doctor came in. Young guy, efficient. "Miss Thompson is pregnant," he said simply. "About 12 weeks. The vomiting is severe, but the baby's heartbeat is strong. We're going to hydrate her and start anti-nausea medication." My mom's face went white. "Pregnant?" she whispered. I couldn't look at her. She waited until the doctor left. Then she grabbed my hand. "Rachel, oh honey, that's wonderful. After everything. Is it, who's the father? Is it someone you've been seeing?" I pulled my hand away. "Mom, I can't." "It's okay," she said quickly. "You don't have to tell me. I'm so happy for you." But I saw her doing the math. Saw her eyes narrow. "You've been living with us for 8 months," she said slowly. "So it happened while you were staying at the house?" I didn't answer. "Rachel, who is it?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I thought maybe she'll believe me. Maybe she'll protect me this time. "Mom," I whispered. "It's David." Her face changed. Not to horror. Not to shock. to something colder. What are you talking about? She said flatly. He's been coming into my room at night. For months. I tried to stop him. I tried. Stop, she said, standing up. Stop it right now. Mom, please. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, she hissed, glancing at the door. But you need to stop. I felt the ground dissolve under me. I'm not lying. Mom, please, you have to believe me. David would never, she said, her voice shaking. You've been living in our house rent-free, and now you're pregnant and you're trying to, what? Destroy my marriage. He raped me, I said, the word finally coming out. He raped me, Mom. Over and over. She slapped me. Not hard. But the sting of it was nothing compared to the look on her face. Don't you ever say that again, she said. I don't know who you've been sleeping with, but you will not drag David into your mess. Left. I was discharged 6 hours later. I took an Uber to a motel near the airport. I had $400 and a baby growing inside me. That's when my mom started calling. The first few calls I didn't answer. Then she left a voicemail. Rachel, we need to talk. Please. Just come to the house. I was so desperate for her to believe me, I went. That's how I ended up at her kitchen table 3 days later, finally showing at 13 weeks, exhausted and sick. David wasn't home. She'd made sure of that. She poured me water, sat down, and said the words I started with. You have to get rid of it, Rachel. Please. You can't tell anyone it's David's baby. I stared at her. So you believe me now? She looked away. I talked to him, she said quietly. He admitted you two had a relationship. A relationship. My voice cracked. Mom, he assaulted me. He threatened me. He said you were lonely, she interrupted. That you came on to him. That he made a mistake, but it was consensual, Rachel. It wasn't, I said, shaking. I said no. Every time. He's willing to pay for everything, she said, like I hadn't spoken. A private clinic. The best care. And then you can move on. We all can. I stood up. You want me to abort my baby, the only one I've ever made it this far with, to protect him? To protect all of us, she said, and her eyes filled with tears. Rachel, if this comes out, it'll destroy everything. My marriage. His career. Your reputation. My reputation. I laughed, wild and broken. Mom, I'm the victim here. You're a 44-year-old woman, she said coldly. Who's going to believe that? I felt something inside me die. You're choosing him, I whispered. She didn't answer. Left. I went back to the motel and I sat on the bed and I thought about driving my car into a wall. But there was a heartbeat inside me. One that had lasted longer than any of the others. So instead I called Dr. Patel. Rachel. Are you all right? I told her everything. The assaults. David. My mother's reaction. I'm going to connect you with someone, she said immediately. A counselor who specializes in trauma. And we need to talk about reporting this. No one will believe me, I said. I believe you, she said. And you'd be surprised. The counselor's name was Monica. She met me the next day at a women's clinic. She was the first person who didn't ask me what I was wearing or why I didn't fight harder or why I didn't leave sooner. This wasn't your fault, she said. And you have options. Legal options. I can't afford a lawyer, I said. There are advocates, she said. Let me make some calls. Within a week, I was connected with a victim's advocate and a lawyer who worked on contingency for assault cases. Her name was Lisa Tran and she was fierce. Do you have any evidence? She asked. Texts. Recordings. Anything. I shook my head. He was careful. He never texted. Never left marks. What about witnesses? Did anyone see him go into your room? Just my mom. And she's on his side. Lisa frowned. That's going to make this harder. But not impossible. She filed a police report. Detectives interviewed me. They also interviewed David. He denied everything. Said I'd been pursuing him for months, that he'd rejected me, and now I was trying to ruin him. She's clearly unstable, I heard he'd told them. Look at her history. Multiple divorces. I'd only had one. Job loss, mental health issues. My mom backed him up. Rachel's been struggling, she told the detective. I think she's confused. The case stalled. No physical evidence. No witnesses. He said, she said. I was 18 weeks pregnant when the DA's office told me they weren't moving forward. I'm so sorry, the prosecutor said. We just don't have enough. I wanted to give up. But then Lisa said, there's one more thing we can do. What? Paternity test. If David is the father, it corroborates your timeline, that you got pregnant while living in their home when you claim the assaults happened. He'll just say it was consensual, I said. Maybe, Lisa said. But it's harder to explain why a man would have a secret consensual affair with his stepdaughter under his wife's roof. It adds pressure. And sometimes pressure cracks people open. Agreed. At 20 weeks, I had an amniocentesis. Carried a small risk, but I needed to know. 2 weeks later the results came back. David was the father. 99.98% certainty. Lisa sent the report to the police, to David's employer, and to my mother. That's when everything broke open. David's company launched an internal investigation. Turns out there'd been complaints before. Women in his sales territory who'd reported inappropriate behavior. Nothing had stuck. But now, with a paternity test and a police report, they couldn't ignore it. He was put on leave. And my mother, she called me screaming. You've ruined him, Rachel. He's going to lose everything because of your lies. They're not lies, Mom. The DNA proves it. It proves you slept with him, she shouted. It doesn't prove anything else. Then why did he sneak into my room? Yes. Why didn't he tell you? Why did he threaten me? Silence. Mom, he's done this before. There are other women. I don't believe you. Ask his company. They're investigating. She hung up. I didn't hear from her for 3 months. But I did hear from David. A cease and desist letter from his lawyer, accusing me of defamation. Lisa laughed when she saw it. This is a scare tactic, she said. He's panicking. She was right. 2 weeks later, David's employer fired him. The investigation had found enough corroboration from other women, a pattern of predatory behavior. He couldn't sue me without opening himself up to discovery, depositions, public testimony. So he didn't. He just disappeared. Moved out of state, I heard later. My mom stayed in the house. She never apologized. But one day, when I was 32 weeks pregnant, she sent a text. I don't know what to believe anymore. But I hope you and the baby are okay. I didn't respond. I gave birth at 38 weeks. A girl. 7 pounds 6 ounces. They put her on my chest and I looked into her tiny face and I sobbed. Hi, I whispered. I'm your mom. I named her Grace. Because that's what she was. Unearned, impossible mine. The first few months were hard. Had nightmares. I struggled to bond. I saw David's face in hers sometimes and had to leave the room. Monica, my counselor, told me that was normal. Trauma doesn't disappear because you love someone, she said. You're allowed to feel complicated things. I joined a support group for survivors. I started EMDR therapy. Slowly I started to heal. Grace is 2 now. She has my eyes and my grandmother's nose and a laugh that sounds like wind chimes. I don't see David in her anymore. I just see her. My mom and I haven't reconciled. I've written her letters I haven't sent. Maybe one day I will. Maybe I won't. Some people tell me I should forgive her. That she was manipulated, scared, in denial. Maybe that's true. But she chose him over me. And I'm allowed to not be okay with that. David never faced criminal charges. That's the hard truth. The system failed me in that way. But he lost his job, his reputation. His marriage eventually. My mom filed for divorce a year after Grace was born. And I got my daughter. I didn't get the story I wanted. The loving partner, the planned pregnancy, the joyful announcement. But I got Grace. And some days that feels like enough. If I could go back, would I change it? Would I choose not to stay with my mom, not to endure those months, not to conceive her? I don't know. That question keeps me up at night. But I do know this, I survived. Grace is thriving. And I'm building a life where she'll never have to doubt that I'll believe her, protect her, choose her, every single time. Here's what I want you to take from this. If someone tells you they've been hurt, believe them. Don't ask them to prove it in ways that re-traumatize them. Don't choose comfort over truth. And if you're the one who's been hurt, who's carrying an impossible story in your chest, you're not crazy. You're not alone. And you deserve every bit of support and justice you can find. What would you do if someone you loved asked you to choose between them and the truth? I really want to know. Leave a comment below.